Good morning once again, everyone, and let's start this online panel discussion event regarding the future of intralogistics. Because I'm just now sharing my screen, could you please let the others in? Yeah, thanks there. So we are happy to start this event and discuss the forthcoming issues, ongoing and forthcoming issues regarding the developments of intralogistics. And we have organized this event together with a team from Metropolia University of Applied Sciences. So this is first time that we are applying this new format, where we have experienced consultants, professionals from the industry, Mr. Ahlqvist, Huhtanen and Pyykkö, and we have a group of students here to interview them. So I believe that we will get lots of insights regarding the future of intralogistics during the next hour. We will then finally have some closing remarks as well as the next steps. But I think it could be the best if a student group, Elli, Marco, Max, and Thymen would now continue and take the stage and steer us to next stages.
All right. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning. Yeah, we sent the questions to you, but I'm sorry, I'm a little bit changed them in the meantime. So hopefully you are ready for some very hard questions today. So yeah, let's jump right into it. I think if it's okay, I would want to ask Seppo first, and then maybe Jussi second, and Henri. But you can answer the same question because I think you have different opinions. So first, we are a little bit about the key challenges. So what, in your opinion, are the key challenges that companies face today in the field of intralogistics? And please provide some examples on how to manage them.
Okay. There are a few in no particular order. I would say one big one is the lack of employees. The birth rates are decreasing basically all over the Western world, and that will mean that getting workforce will become more and more difficult. At the same time, the workforce will become more and more, let's say, international, which may cause, for example, difficulties with the inductions simply because of the language barrier, for example. Second point I would like to point out is the constantly decreasing average order size. So especially when you are doing B2C business, the people are ordering less and less items in one order. At the same time, they are increasing the amount of returnals they make. So you get a much bigger flow of items that is returning from the customers, and returnals are way more difficult to handle than the shipments that come from your suppliers. And maybe third point I would like to point out is the increasing reporting pressure, which partially comes from, for example, the ESG directive of European Union, European Community, that causes a pressure to collect data and report data in formalized manner in order, for example, to get funding for your upcoming projects. So these would be maybe my three main takes on this matter. Okay. You asked also for the ways to overcome these hurdles. I would say What comes to the lack of employees, that's automation, decreasing average order size, automation, reporting pressure, control software, and automation, because that's how you get the data.
Thank you, Seppo. Yeah, Jussi, if you can give your insights.
Yes, thank you, and good morning also from my side to everybody. I would add two other things beside what Seppo already mentioned. The one is the disruptions and the globalization. I think what started when COVID came to the life of us, every company started to think about this deglobalization topic, that okay, should we have the warehouse, should we have a production closer to us to control everything? And the second thing I would add also is the technology integrations. I think it's not all about the automation, but it's actually to really integrating different things, talking about AI, Internet of things type of topics. So I think that these are also key challenges we are facing already at the moment, and where every company needs to find a solution what fits to their needs.
Okay, thank you, Jussi. Henri, something to add?
Yes, thank you. There was many good things already mentioned, but still with the automation of warehouses, there's the kind of the warehousing is the easiest part to automate, but kind of the picking, packing, and sorting, delivery to the actual loading area that's the trickier part still, and there isn't that much kind of cheap automation yet available for that one. So that's the one thing that, of course, and if you're thinking about in a bigger scale on the intralogistics, the e-commerce is kind of eating down the lead times. So from centralized warehousing, we are actually seeing that more companies are going back to kind of area warehouses or the warehouses that are close to the customer, because they need to have short lead times. So they can't anymore deliver everything from the same centralized warehouse. So that's one issue. And of course, about lack of employees and the need of actually getting foreign immigrant kind of workers to the logistics. One solution that I have actually realized earlier in my last work, we need to have some kind of training for the kind of manager level or the team leader level to the companies, and have the instructions and all the processes also in English. Most of the programs would be also already in English, but the kind of the work leaders need to be able to communicate with the workers also with some other language than Finnish, and that's in the most cases the kind of the problem that this day, that it's not possible because of that.
Yeah, very good point. So language barriers, and
yes,
how do you feel? Or this is a question for everybody. How is the English language? Like, how good is it in your companies? Like, does everybody speak pretty fluent English, or is it a challenge?
I think what comes to our company, yes, people speak good English, but we are not doing logistics in that sense, so it's a bit of an unfair comparison. But I think for the language matter, there are actually two things that you need to consider. There's the daily work, which is rather simple. But then there are other things and matters that you need to consider. For example, compulsory work safety trainings and tests that you need to carry out. And quite often these are more problematic than arranging the daily work where you pick or shelve or drive a forklift, where you get a lot of repeats and the work itself is rather easily trained or inducted to the person. So there are two levels of language capabilities that you need to have. One is the daily operations, and the other is this, let's say, more formal and maybe somehow outside governed requirements, for example, for the work safety related tests.
That's a very good point. Yeah, thank you. Something to add with Jussi, Henri?
Yes, I used to work for a large company as warehouse manager, and there I saw the problem that I had 7 or 8 shift foremen there, and about 2 of them would have been able to communicate with English, and others were lacking the skill. So it was the problem. So we couldn't take any non-Finnish speaking employees there.
Thank you. Let's move to the next question. So we were a little bit talking first about the challenges, then maybe a little bit more about the trends and something like positive trends more. So what do you see as the biggest trends right now that are impacting logistics in like a whole? And how do they impact your work? Because you are mostly consultant workers, I understood. So probably the companies are asking you for a lot of advice now in the forthcoming opportunities. Maybe I would want to hear from Jussi first, if it's possible to ask like this.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that the word automatization and the robotics is or we are hearing it from everywhere. So normally the companies who are somehow involved with the internal logistics, they believe that they can make the processes much more efficient if they invest for the automatization. All the time it is not like that, but in many cases it is, and the most relevant thing is really that you find the proper and the suitable automatization and the robotic solution for your business, and that starts always from the customer promise. What do you promise to your customers? And we spoke already some disruption trends in the previous question, and if I may say that this business to consumer online shopping is in a way one disruption thing, which is kind disbalanced with environmental and the green thinking. As it was said already, it's mostly one item per order line which is picked from the warehouse. So I think that what is needed actually when we talk about the trend is that all the consumers are also understanding that what does it mean when you order the one item and you return the one item. It's actually a huge topic for the environment field, so to say. But the trend is definitely the automatization and the robotics, and also the let's say more lean and the better systems, if I say in that way.
Yes, thank you. How have they been impacting your daily work?
We are not operating any warehouse ourselves, but we are supporting our customers to develop their process and the methods and design the new warehouse or the automatization systems. So from that point of view, we are facing it every day in the different projects, and from that point of view, it is impacting to our daily work or our engineers' daily work. But it's also challenging us to keep us updated of everything what is happening in the automatization and the robotics field, because we always want to find the best solutions for the customer, and that requires that we are top of the information.
Good point. Does Henri want to continue?
Yes, thank you. Well, of course, concerning the automation, there is, of course, a lot of questions from us also, and a lot of projects going on, and it's nice to see that there is now kind of new solutions coming up into the market that they are kind of more flexible, so you don't have to invest so huge warehouse at once. So you can start from small and kind of upgrade or expand it on the way, get more capacity on the way. So it's kind of easier to start with. But of course, we see also SWECO is an engineering company. We have architects, and we are helping people to build companies or buildings and so on. So we see a lot of this demand for more sustainable buildings and more energy efficient ones. So there are a lot of course, projects going on because of that. So there are these greenfield logistics centers and warehouses and industrial facilities coming up, because the old ones, they are not so efficient to use, and they either would need huge renovations, so they are quite often thinking about building a new one, so it will be more energy efficient one also. And because the regulations for the investments are also getting more strict, so you will get better loans and better interest if you have green facility. So that's also kind of guiding that way.
Okay, that's a good thing that they get some relief in that way.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Seppo.
Yeah, I think what our customers are asking from us is the understanding of the level of different automation systems and their feasibility for different process points, because automation automation per se is something that has been used already for tens of years, but only for certain applications. On the logistics area, for example, having automated pallet storages is something that you have had in use in large warehouses for 20, 30 years already, and that's not a novelty, but that was suitable for certain type of processes, large volumes, for example. And then the automation has become available for different type of storaging and different type of process points, for example, picking or to some extent decanting or moving items inside of a warehouse, so using them as forklifts or conveyors. And I think what our customers are paying for us is to give them the insight of kind of the balance of the investment and return of investment, that in which process points the automation can be put into use at the moment, and where they could be put into use in, let's say, in period of 5 years or 10 years, when they are, for example, planning their new premises, that what kind of reservations they would have to do on layout-wise in order to be able to use the automation when it's ready or mature to be used.
Yeah, that's a good point about the mature of the whole industry, the automation and everything, that because everything is moving so fast. So when is the right time to jump in to that? Do you feel like every year there's coming something big out, or is it hard to answer a customer that now is a good time to invest? What do you say, Seppo? How do you feel?
Development is fast, but it's not that fast. So it's not like you're getting new big. It's not constant. At some point, some supplier, and usually at the same time, several suppliers get something working, and then you have a cost-efficient solution that you can trust to a certain process point. I think robotized picking is a good example. It's been kind of around already for at least good half a dozen of years. But now I think it's ready to really be put into use to certain kind of products, but not all. and the development is not like it's constantly growing upwards. It's usually rather still, and then you get the jump to the next level when all the pieces of the puzzle somehow fit together in that application area. And that's kind of what makes it difficult. You can't interpolate that now we are here and it grows constantly, which means that in 5 years we are good for this. You just need to keep your eyes open and do your share on developing things. And then at certain point, you notice that, okay, now this technology or idea is ready to be used to certain process points if all the constants around are suitable.
Thank you.
If I may add,
Of course,
every other year there is the Logimat trade fair in Germany, and there is always a lot of kind of new solutions always, of course. But it's the question that who will be the first one to implement it actually and see if it's actually working one. And there are a few really interesting ones at the moment on the market too. And of course, most based on somehow mobile robots and using them in a different way than before. So it's interesting times in the market. So it's getting more mature all the time.
it was a very good point, and I want to a little bit touch more on that, because now we are talking about future stuff coming out, but you have been all working in the logistics area and warehousing for a long time. So if you think back 5 years and the promises or like the prototypes that were the big thing 5 years ago, so where are they now? Have you seen products that have actually come into use and that your customers are using? Anyone can take the...
I think,
Well, I guess,
I think
yeah.
for example, the automated guided vehicles, so for example, the forklifts, which are moving by themselves and moving the goods. This is a very good example, which were 5 years ago more or less in the discussion level, but now we can see them in the production, and the same is for the mobile robots.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true that there are already some good examples of using of the mobile robots in Finland also. But I think in many cases in Finland we are quite traditional. We are not the fun ones to take the first solutions in use. We want to see them being used somewhere else before us. But there are now at least companies thinking about taking some new versions in Finland also in use. But I guess, well, mainly the new solutions are based on the mobile robots, and of course, the combination of mobile robots and collaboration robots or some kind of other robotics. There are a lot of things that we can still do. Kind of the products are there, the solutions are there, but how to kind of combine them.
Yeah, mobile robots is definitely one. I think the robotized picking is other. It's not. I haven't seen a really application that really is in a daily use in Finland yet, but you don't have to go further than our neighbor countries in Scandinavia, and they are delivery centers and logistics companies that really use robotized picking from plastic bin automation in their daily work, and it's not a novelty in that sense, and they have been able to implement it in an efficient way for certain subset of their products that they are handling, and I expect that to be the next kind of next big thing or next novelty that will enter also the Finnish markets. On the other hand, there are reasons why Finland is a bit behind in taking the novelties into use. The market is smallish, country is big, and quite many companies need to work in much broader area of products that the rivals or similar companies do, for example, in Central Europe, and that makes implementing such a systems may be a tad more difficult here.
And I think it's really like you Seppo say that we are small market and manufacturers are many times very global and they don't see the potential here. Or if they see such a potential, then the service network is very expensive to set up here in Finland. And if the customer is investing for some kind of automatization, they are also expecting that the service in the local level is working very good.
Good point.
There was a comment from Teemu Hämäläinen on the chat regarding the processes and the methods before you invest for any automatization, and I fully agree that before you can invest and take the step to any automatization or the robotics or mobile robots or cobots, whatever, you need to make sure that you know your processes, you have defined the processes and the methods, because only on that way the new technologies will support you in the best way.
Yeah.
And of course, you also need to kind of plan that you can utilize the automation there. There are a lot of examples that the company has started using HEV trucks, but they haven't changed the process to kind of to apply on that. So they try to use the HEV like they have used manual man in forklift, and that just doesn't work. You have to think it on a different level and different way.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're a little bit in a point where if you want to change to automation, you really need to rethink the whole warehouse or how everything works. Little bit. Next question is kind of in the same area. So we a little bit talked about warehouses that it's more localized, that it's not such a big warehouse anymore somewhere in the middle of Finland. But how does, for example, if Henri, if you can open first, so how do you see the changes in size, structure, and location for a warehouse in the coming years? So if your customer would ask you where to set up and which kind, so what would you say?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like I think it was Jussi mentioned already that it's always based on the customer needs and what they want. And of course, if you are working in e-commerce business, especially food retail e-commerce, you need to be really close to the customer. So that's why we are seeing that the groceries are working as a warehouse also, and the picking is done from the grocery store, or there will be these kind of mini micro fulfillment centers that now both S and K Group are building now in the biggest cities, and that's the trend we are seeing also in the other countries. And for example, the Swedish example, ICA, with what they build a huge warehouse with Ocado, and now they're scrapping it, so they're going back to store picking and localized warehousing, because they just can't get the lead times there. So that's the trend now, and you need to kind of find the best focus point for the mass that is in your area. And we're actually also doing that kind of calculations for customers quite often, so it's not that kind of hard to do. You know where your customers are and try to find the best location within the delivery time. But in the same time, I totally agree on the sustainability side that it's really hard you should kind of somehow let the customers already also know that if you order it today, the CO2 emissions are this high, but if you take it for the next 3 days, for example, it's much less, because you can do more consolidation and planning on the kind of delivery. There's actually an example from Germany where this kind of electric supplier, they had their kind of predefined delivery method for the next day, so one day delivery time. And they had a pilot that they changed it to 3 days, and you could still change it for free to 1 day, but 80% of the customers didn't change it, and it saved something like 40% of CO2 emissions, because they had better kind of load rate on the trucks, and they could kind of plan the routes much efficient way. So
this is an excellent point, and when I was preparing for this session and I thinking my answers, the biggest point that I really can't predict is that how people start to behave. And that will have a huge impact on many things. And I'm really counting on you young people there that you start to do differently than your parents, because until now, what people talk and how they act differ hugely. So every time you ask people that how important the environmental matters, they say that it's utterly important. But then when they make decisions, the decisions are made based on price and delivery time. and this will be extremely interesting to see how people start to behave. For example, do they start to prefer products that are produced locally, that are stored locally, delivered locally? Will they give less importance on the same day delivery? And at the end, all of the companies have only the money of their customers. And how the customer behavior will change will have a huge impact on logistics. But no one is able to predict that at the moment. It's easy to say that the automation will develop itself because that's how it goes. Technical matters have a tendency to slowly improve, but the behavior of people may switch, if not overnight, it may switch rapidly, or then again, it may not.
And if I may add there, it's kind of funny that at the moment, I think the companies are pushing that the faster delivery times, and customers are kind of learning it, even though I think it was posted some kind of study about it. It takes usually 2 to 3 days for the people to actually pick up the packages from the automate. So you want it for the next day, but you pick it in 3 days.
I think this is very good point, Henri, what you mentioned, and also Seppo, that we cannot predict how the customer will behave. But if we follow the social media, everybody is screaming after the Black Week that, hey, can you pick your packet because my packet is waiting in the queue. So this is exactly that everybody wants everything now, but actually they don't have a rush. And there, I believe that we can start steering the consumer more. Back to the normal.
People are interested in numbers that they can compare. Yeah. Price is a number that you can take 3 suppliers and compare. Delivery time is something that you can take 3 suppliers and compare. At the moment, for example, the CO2 footprint is not a number that you can put side by side and compare. And this will be an utterly interesting matter to see how the world will change itself.
Okay, so little bit still about the original question. So the location of a warehouse and the size. These were thank you very. So so maybe in a sustainable part, you said that it would be one centralized warehouse, and then the routes would be very optimized. I think so. The CO2 per package is low, but then again, for the customer, they would want the package now, in a 1 hour to my door.
It really depends from. I think it really depends from the industry. It was already mentioned about the food industry. They need these fulfillment centers to be close to the customer. But in many other industry, you can actually have the storage centralized where it's most efficient to organize it.
Yeah, with food it's hard because the expired dates. Yeah. But then if you have electronics, clothes, something else, so it's very different.
But it's actually also interesting top point in that all the vehicles are changing to electric ones. Do we also need to kind of think about the location from that point of view also, that can you drive the whole long distance with the vehicles also?
Yeah, of course, like even electric trucks have some kind of range. Yeah, then, well, we have touched the AI part, a lot. And maybe I would want to hear from your customers on this kind of challenges that have been happening in the implementation of artificial intelligence and also machine learning, because like you said, they tried to implement the machine process so that it would work as a human. So maybe Jussi, if you could start. So what have been the challenges in the implementation part?
I think the one challenge we are seeing all the time is the poor data quality. So the master data quality in the companies is average level is very poor, and this is leading to many problems in the complete supply chain, including also the AI or learning machine. So this is definitely number one. The second challenge, I think, is that people doesn't know really what is meant with the AI when we talk about the internal logistics. What can you achieve with the AI in the internal logistics? It's so new field so far that there are not much used cases what you can benchmark or you can copy. But I definitely see the big potential there if we talk about the machine learning things in the picking, for example, that you can recognize the item in the picking layer or the box, and the cobot will pick it. But if we don't get the master data in the better level, we cannot use any of these technologies, I would say.
Okay, how could so first thing is gathering data.
Yeah, and that is I have been working in the supply chain more than 20 years, and I'm still amazed at how poor the data is from the starting point, from the manufacturer who is manufacturing the item, because they should have actually the most best data of the item, but they don't.
I must fully agree with Jussi. This puzzles me as well, that how come there is no this kind of global data center of data where all the suppliers would just simply give out the required data, and all the actors around it would be able to gather it. I find it just amazing that this isn't existing. What comes to AI, I'm a bit reluctant to speak about the AI as is. I think you need to handle this a bit. AI is just a tool, and you can have different tools for handling your data. It can be a simple equation. It can be something more complex. What would be in Finnish? It would have been called ATK 25 years ago. So automated data processing, or what was then called maybe robot process automation, or RPA. Or then you can use AI. But it's the matter of having data, having a process that implements some kind of a tool that processes the data, and then having the output affecting the process somehow. And if you think about simple applications, it's, for example, shelving the products based on the XYZ classification. So the based on the amount how often the item is picked, it's placed on a better location or a worse location. So there are actually quite a bit of rather simple when somebody says it's allowed, but still extremely useful applications of automated data processing. It's not necessarily technically done with AI tools, but it's the input and output is somehow altered by data automation, and I think this is important to notice in that sense that using AI is not it's not big and fluffy thing. It's just using another tool for this data processing. that may be faster, it may be better, it may be able to do more complex decisions because it's not based on calculation, it's based on another type of data processing. But quite often people tend to concentrate on the tool, on the AI, and not on the process problem. And I think this should be done another way around. You need to find the problems that you have in your process and then select a suitable tool with which this process problem is solved.
Thank you, Seppo. Henri.
Yeah, and I totally agree on the master data problem. In almost every warehouse automation project, they will have to measure and picture every article that they put on the warehouse automate. Otherwise, it won't work. On the AI side, I think the robot picking is now the place where we see it most, that they are trying to recognize the articles with that. But in other places, I actually would say that the development has been so fast during the last year even that they are still finding the ways to actually implement it. So most of the companies haven't still kind of taken it in use, and of course also the software developer side, the warehouse management systems. There are some applications already involved in those, but it's still coming. So it's that so new thing, that the latest developments, that it's still coming.
Yeah, but one practical application, for example, is that it starts replacing user manuals of your automation devices of software. When you come up with the problem, you don't have to take a manual and start reading the manual. You make a question to some text-based AI system that has been taught with the content of the manual, and then you can state questions to the AI bot, and it will give you an answer that is more easier to understand and suits better to your problem, and you gain it faster than taking the manual with 253 pages and start shuffling around.
Yes, thank you. So we are a little bit in early stages still with the AI, so that's now for everybody participating. If you have any questions, this would be a good time to ask them in the chat. At the meantime, when you are thinking, I would want to ask you three one last question. So we have many students here today. If you would be in the school bench as we are today, so what would you study? What do you feel is the most important thing to know? Maybe Jussi can start with this.
It was very easy question and not very wide. But I think the fact is that with some time frame, the automatization will take more and more the basic work. So we will need to let's say the new professionals who are driving the automatization, who is developing the automatization, and also who is developing and really defining the processes. Because even that you have the automatization, or you have the cobot, or you have the automated guided vehicle, you need the processes and the methods. So I would say that if you are good defining the processes and the methods, you are good developing them, you will be handling the many things in the warehouse.
Thank you. Henri?
Well, at first, I would say that you will need the people skills, some kind of leadership training, and of course, sales is always good. You will need sales skills for everything in your life. But from kind of the logistics point of view, I would say that data analytics is one kind of hot topic at the moment, because we are now gathering a lot of data, massive amounts of data, and I think the use of AI will kind of change that also. And there will be a demand for people that can actually crunch the numbers, that we have a huge amount of data, but what's actually the useful ones, and what we can do with that. How can we implement it to develop the processes?
Thank you. Seppo?
Yeah, I totally agreed with both Jussi and Henri. I feel a bit bad to be a grumpy old man and say that you need to learn the basics anyhow. So even though there are these novelties like different type of automation things and different type of number crushing that you might be able to do, but in order to put these into good use, you still need to know the basics. As Jussi said, that you need to be able to define the processes, and for that, the requirements really haven't changed in 10 or 20 or 30 years. The basics is still the same. In order to do the process definitions, you need to know the basic, let's say, mathematical backgrounds, the efficiency calculations, and understand the things in that context. And for that, I would also say that do not forget the practical side of the manner. So try to get as much practice on the floor level as well, because that will help hugely on your later steps and on your professional career when you have actually been doing the things yourself. So you need to build the basis in really similar manner that we have done, for example. But on top of that, you have new tools in your toolbox that you can then implement to overcome the problems that you will see, like AI or automation or robotics or AGVs or whatever.
That's actually a really good point, that if you look at the big scale, the waste, biggest part of logistics is still done quite traditional way. There are still boats taking the containers, and there's still trucks driving around, and there's still about, I think most of the warehouses in Finland, there's trucks, pallet shelves, and manual operations.
Thank you for the answers. We have a little bit over 10 minutes here. If we have any, Heikki, if you have questions or anybody from the audience.
Regarding the questions from the audience, we have here in the chat. Actually, Teemu had another question earlier there, but I think it is already answered. But the next one, Teemu wrote here. Here is also interesting dilemma of automation that cause inflexibility in cases and changing customer demands combined with lesser volumes in Finland. So should automation, if implemented, need to be able to scale and or to be flexible part of internal logistics processes as human workers are now? So question regarding automation and inflexibility here in chat. Thanks, Teemu, for question.
Jussi can comment from our side. We work a lot with the companies who have their own production, not only the warehousing, but also the production. And especially in this type of companies, we see that there is a need to be able to scale up, but also scale down the automatization, because in a certain time frame, it might be that the production actually needs and requires more space, and that space you need to take from the warehouse. And if you have then the fixed automation solution, you cannot scale down.
Yeah, and short answer is yes to this particular question. It needs to be more flexible in Finland, and this is how we see this in our customer base, is that customers are looking solutions that are not the same as the solutions, for example, inside of the same concern in Central Europe, because the functions in Finland are different. They are not able to utilize the same systems that are used in Germany or France or Poland or wherever. It might have the same volume, but the volume comes from a lot larger number of items, for example, or different amount of deliveries, and Finland is a difficult or different market for automation suppliers in many ways. And it gives, of course, this gives some room for the local players. So there are local automation companies that can do a bit different type of projects to Finland than, for example, Central European suppliers are able to do.
Yeah, thanks. It's a good question, and it's an interesting one because I was just visiting just last week on one 3PL supplier and our operator, and they were struggling with Black Friday. So that's one good example that when they would actually need a lot of more capacity, and they can't measure all the warehouse for just a few days. But the newer solutions, they are a bit more flexible, and there have also at least been discussions a bit with these AutoStore and some shuttle warehouse providers that they might even in some point in the future have these kind of rental robots that they could add to the system when there is more capacity needed. So it would be kind of a easy way to do it, because if it's the same system, you just kind of put the robot in and tell that, okay, there's one more robot here, and then you could descale it when you don't need that many. But of course, the size-wise, it's not that scalable. Of course, some AutoStore is more scalable than some mini load systems, but not that scalable that you would like to build a 200 square meters more for a couple of weeks and then take it away.
Yes. Heikki, do you have some questions for the panelists?
Yeah, I think there could be lots of more questions. I really like it, Max. You and your team questions for those three professionals. I think that instead of placing any new question, I think that we can start now to summarize a little bit this event and the comments seen here. So if we start from this latest question set by Teemu, is the situation you said that here is some room for local players in automation for automatization here in Finland. Is the situation here a little bit that in Finland we are also investing in automation, not only for efficiency, but also tackling some other key challenges and trends you said here earlier, such as lack of skilled workforce or some other?
Automation helps in many ways. Efficiency is one, tackling the workforce is one, the environmental matters is also one, because automation can be operated in cold and dark. So it helps in many ways.
Yeah.
And often it's more precise also, so less picking errors.
And then less returnals and yes.
Great. Very important point too. Yeah. I have made lots of notes here on my notebook regarding your comments. But as Max said, we still have a few minutes here late. So if there is any question or comment from audience, I think our panelists are more than happy to answer your comments or questions. I think I cannot see just now anyone there. I think our chairman for Intralogistics working group, Hannu Tapio, is maybe also online. Would you like to summarize a little bit and set some closing remarks for the panelists? Please still join online. Is Hannu there? No?
Thank you, Heikki.
Yeah.
This is the way how you always work. I wasn't that much prepared, but I would say that we have covered, how to say, most of the issues and the points how to approach this future warehouses issues, and more or less I'm not having, how to say, rapidly anything new what we haven't discussed. Maybe this was an interesting question what I started to think, and that's quite common question from the student is that what should we study, and advice was that somehow nothing has changed, but in the same other side of the coin is that everything. So I fully agree with the panelists that you need to have the basic skills, mathematical skills, then this, how we put it, human robots interaction. It's another area to study, and then it's, how to say, more and more interesting for young people that it's not only mathematics and machines, it's interaction and how human is behaving in different situations and how it varies with the different people and how to combine this in the point that safety is end of the day one of the most important issues, and then it's human behavior, what is natural for human beings to be assisted by machines. So that was, how to say, quickly something would pop up in my mind.
Thanks, Hannu, for these remarks. Now we have questions here on chat. Heikki Kujansu wrote here, you were telling automation as service provided to the customer, for example, with rental robots. Is this coming as future trend? Finnish companies providing this service? Question mark. So I think
for the mobile robot sector, there is also already options for that. There are these leased mobile robots options, but for the warehouse automation, I've seen a discussion about it, but I don't know yet any operator actually doing it. But it could be interesting topic.
Yeah, and another question based on topic. Can you actually differ internal logistics as theme from overall supply chain because of process correlations impact between operations from logistics and transportation perspective? Did you got the question?
I think the question is good. It is a supply chain. Yes, the links are connected. So in that sense, no, you can't separate. I think this is an excellent remark that the intralogistics is only partially a boxed area, and it has also connections to the outside world. On the other hand, the outside world is also a bit of outside of your hands. There's only limited amount of things that you can do to affect that, and there are more things that you can affect inside of your own walls, so to say. But I think as a remark, this was an excellent take.
Yeah. So
and unfortunately, in some companies, there are even kind of mixed internal goals for the different operations. So you're kind of trying to battle against them in the warehouse.
Yeah. But now I think we have had 60-minute panel, so we have to stop. I like to thank especially our student group Elli, Marco, Max, and Thymen from Metropolia for preparing this panel, and thank you for panelists as well as the audience. There on chat are some links if you like to continue this journey together with LIMOWA. So thank you and have a nice day.